a part of my programme, the Sustainable Leadership Method. This is phase 2, which is the design phase, and I thought it would be useful to just talk through what happens within that phase, so that if you're considering getting in touch with me, you've got a bit more of an idea about what's involved in that. So this is the fun bit where clients will chat through what their problem is. So we get really into like the nitty-gritty of what's going on for them. So the previous phase is the audit phase. So we look at where their energy is going, how they feel about whatever their problem is. So I usually work with leaders, senior leaders, often in multi-academy trusts, or in the corporate world, sometimes charity sector as well. So there's a whole range of different problems that people come to me about. Sometimes it's to do with team motivation, sometimes it's that the leader needs a bit of a sounding board and they haven't really got anybody either within their organisation that they can speak openly about, because if they're at the top, perhaps they're a head teacher and they just, they've got to lead. They don't necessarily want everybody in the organisation or the school to feel like they don't know what they're doing. So they just, and also it's not always appropriate to kind of go into lots of detail with your team about things that you kind of are struggling with. So that's often when I've clients have come to me, because they just need a safe space there's no judgment, and they can kind of thrash out different ideas in a really comfortable, safe way, so that they're kind of testing out different ideas before they actually decide on the path that they want to take. So I just thought it would be helpful to kind of go through a couple of examples of clients that I've worked with and how this phase has sort of worked for them. So client Z, I made some notes before as well, so I remember kind of what I needed to say. So she came to me wanting to change her career. So we spoke a lot about kind of in her energy audit of where her energy was being focused, that it was on everybody else. She was at the bottom of the pile. She didn't really know kind of where she wanted to go, and she was actually quite fearful of making the wrong choice, making the wrong kind of, she didn't really know where to go. And that was just, she likes change, but she just found that there was almost too much choice for her, and she was putting a lot of limiting beliefs in her mind of, well, I could do this, but I don't think I'd be any good at that, or I could try this path, I could apply for this kind of job, but actually it's not really, have I got the skills for that area? She was kind of talking herself down all the time. So we spoke a lot within the design phase of her reasons for changing a job. So she decided she wanted a lot of freedom. She wanted the freedom to decide where she worked, how she worked. Her current job meant that there were a lot of compliance issues for her, Ofsted and budget issues and other things that just meant she lacked a lot of choice. So for her new job, she wanted there to be loads of freedom, loads of choice for her to do what she wanted to do. She also, was kind of fearful. She thought she needed, because she was in the middle of like in her 40s, and she said she compared herself to a previous kind of in her 20s when she changed jobs. There was that sense of like abandonment, and it didn't really matter what she did because she was young enough to kind of flip and change and do lots of different things. Whereas now she's a mum, she's got bills to pay. She was very much aware of there being a few other kind of conditions to her deciding on what job she wanted to do. So she really valued having the time with me to be able to chat through her options, and like I say, in that sort of safe way where I wasn't saying you have to apply for this job. It was, well, what options have you got? What do you enjoy doing? What's going to bring you joy? What kind of skills have you got? And where do you want to work, rather than choosing a job that maybe she felt she had to do because that's where her skills were. Client C. Client C came to me with a few issues to do with work, some problems that she was having with work, but also she worked in a charity, and she had a few kind of issues with how she was being perceived. So that slightly quite a different scenario to client Z. Client C was finding that she felt very confident in a professional work environment, but a lot of those skills weren't necessarily translating into this charitable volunteer position. And she was finding that she had this sort of crisis of identity. She didn't quite know, like, she couldn't transfer the skills that she normally would use in a day-to-day job into this voluntary position. And then as a result of us talking through kind of what the issues were with this this volunteer position, she also mentioned a few other kind of niggly points that she wanted to bring up when she's been working, and like how she kind of tackles scenarios. So I was able to work with her to design how to sort of draw out how she solved the problems at work, which then meant that was meant to be an arrow. That was just messy. I was able to draw out with her how the problems that she solved at work, she could then transfer those into the charity position, and how to kind of, so we were able to design those steps for her to, in one session we would chat through, well, how did she solve the problems at work and the options that were available to her, sort of different solutions and different ways to experiment with how that links to the charity position. And then the next time we would meet for our coaching session, she would then be able to explain, well, actually, yes, I tried this, I experimented with this. So she was able to design those different steps between sessions, which she could then get a bit of motivation and a bit of confidence, and we could celebrate the wins together to say, well, actually, you did that really well at work. So have you tried that with when you're feeling a bit wobbly with the charity position? So that worked really well for client C. And client D, so client D is a new senior leader. She wanted a bit of help with navigating motherhood. She's not a new mum, but she's in recent years she's become a mum, which has then kind of impacted on her view of work and how she turns up at work and links to her confidence. She was finding that she wanted to progress in her career, but she was finding that within meetings she had a real imposter syndrome, and although she's a senior leader, but she's finding that she wasn't able to articulate herself really clearly and confidently in meetings. So for her design part of her, the design phase of her career, the design phase of her coaching journey, what we were able to really experiment with different scenarios that she could sort of rehearse in the coaching sessions. So there was a real transformation in her confidence from when she started. Just in one session, she was able to identify what was working well and what she needed to she was really able to pinpoint, oh right, there was a real light bulb moment of like, oh right, I've got it. In that scenario, I didn't speak up when I would normally. Well, why didn't I do that? And she was able to kind of articulate herself with me as we were partnering together in the conversations. So that the next coaching session, literally just the second session, we were able to celebrate the fact that she'd recognise what she was struggling with and how she then could implement what she'd learned just in that first session. And because of the nature of how her brain works, she is super motivated, really sort of, she wanted to achieve, and it just enjoyed, she thrived on experimenting and changing and adapting. So the design element for her coaching journey was lots of, well, I'm going to try. She was really motivated by trying this, trying that. Let's flip this round. Let me try and I'm going to have a go at doing this. And she was really excited to kind of try to. She just enjoyed designing her own path, which was really exciting. So hopefully you can tell that from each of the clients, they're all so totally different, which is obviously why I love coaching, because it's totally person-centered. It depends on what the client needs and where they want to go, and that's why it's the design phase is instrumental for my clients, and that sort of agency and the ability to be able to be free, which is brilliant. So yeah, just to kind of recap, for my clients, they really like to notice what works well and what doesn't. So there's a lot of pivoting, changing, experimenting, being creative, which is really exciting and keeps it motivating and interesting. By designing, noticing where your energy is going, where your time's going, people are able to avoid burnout. I've experienced burnout firsthand, so I recognise that when I was in it, I wasn't able to speak up and ask for help or sort of vocalise, well, actually, I'm finding this really difficult at the minute. So coaching is wonderful, a wonderful way to avoid getting to that point where you're breaking, that sort of breaking point. So being able to notice where your energy goes, design, and have fun and be creative in that safe way, and test out different ideas, I think is really interesting. And it all links to confidence building as well, that it's a good way to trial things out before you kind of commit to a particular action. You can just kind of have a little test, which is really good. And also I've noticed with the leaders that I work with, they simply like setting targets for themselves, whether that's like a self-development target or a target for their team. They really enjoy having that special dedicated time, whether that's once a week, once a month, as and when they need it. It's a real intentional target to be able to go, right, I'm having my coaching session with Kirsten. I know that it's going to motivate me to either get something in place before the session, so we've got something to talk about, or during that time I know that's a dedicated special time where in my week or my month where I can go, right, I know I want to focus on this scenario, this situation, and decide on my options of kind of where to go. The next phase is integrate, so I'll do that on another live, and that again is making sure that the client is able to put in place all these different elements once you've had a bit of a trial of sort of different ways of doing things. If you're interested in getting in touch with me, please do. I've got an email list, and by all means you can contact me on LinkedIn as well. You can send me a DM on there. So yeah, chat soon.